conclude the action for the weekend. We do so in Paisley, St Mirren against Celtic. Teams are out, we're about to get up and running with our commentary team here on Sportsound on BBC Radio Scotland. Peter Grant, Stephen Thompson and Al Lamont.
Thanks very much, Richard. Welcome to the Smythe Stadium. St Mirren look for lightning to strike twice. The odds on 2 wins in a season over this Celtic side have got to be almost as long. But Stephen Robinson's team, as Stephen was alluding to there, made this something of a fortress, with only the top 2 having better home records this season. It would be a brave person to back against Celtic, making it 11 wins on the spin, though. They have been pretty irresistible of late on a seemingly relentless charge towards a league title defence. David Dickinson is the man in the middle, and he's just taking the ball into the centre circle right now as Celtic go into their huddle. The home side are all in black this afternoon. Celtic in a light grey shirt. Interestingly enough, or maybe not interestingly, but both sides are wearing black shorts, which I wasn't sure was necessarily allowed, but Celtic with the grey socks as well. And Celtic break out of the huddle. Exactly the same starting 11 from last Sunday when they dispensed of Rangers in the League Cup final to claim the first domestic trophy of the season. And it will be the excellent Aaron Moy, who made his first league start of the season here in that defeat in September. But it's a different Aaron Moy, it strikes me, who is now a mainstay in Ange Postecoglou's side. And it's Celtic who start from right to left as we look at it from the back of the main stand, coming forward down the left, but St Mirren win it back, and it's Carl Starfelt having to mop up at the back as Alec Greaves tries to close him down. Joe Hart gets a first touch on the ball and then a second to knock it back to Starfelt, who plays it square to Cameron Carter-Vickers. And when that pair have started a domestic game this season, Celtic have not been beaten. Neither of them played in the defeat here in September. It was Jens and Welsh who's the centre-back pairing on that occasion, and certainly Peter Grant. They are a formidable duo nowadays in the back line for Celtic.
Yeah, I thought they were excellent. I thought in the cup final, I thought Starfelt was magnificent, never get the credit he was due, but it's as I said earlier, it's a very difficult position for them to play because they're left on their own very often, and teams have got a bit of pace up front, but they'll be asked questions with Main. Main doesn't give you a minute, he works you hard, he's competitive. And the last game I watched them against St Mirren, Celtic struggled with the set plays and the long throw-ins, and Main's very good at that. So it'll be interesting watching how they deal with him today, but they have been outstanding.
Greg Taylor takes a free kick back to Starfelt, who you really feel has grown into the Celtic jersey. Had a pretty nervy start, I think it's fair to say, even you would say maybe the first season. He did have injury problems, I guess, but certainly this season he has really established himself as one of Ange Postecoglou's first choices alongside Carter-Vickers. It's a free kick to Celtic over on the far side, knocked back by Carter-Vickers to Joe Hart. Now Starfelt knocks it forward to Moy. Moy's out-muscled by Alex Gogic though, and it will be a free kick the way of St Mirren. And that's the type of battle, Stephen, that St Mirren are going to have to win all day long.
Yeah, it is, and they did it very well when they played at Celtic Park recently, with the centre half dropping into midfield.
There's Grieve, claims for a handball against Greg Taylor. Didn't look like it to me at first glance, but doesn't stop the claims. Celtic come away with it from the back, but Bacchus has won it back for St Mirren. It will of course be checked by the VAR, who is Andrew Dallas this afternoon.
Looked like his chest to me.
Yeah, did to me as well. But obviously our perspective can sometimes not be the best one. But,
what are you trying to say?
And we're hearing that it did come off his hand, so the question will be, was it intentional? Was it judged to have been a penalty? Play hasn't stopped yet, so the VAR can continue to review that while play goes on.
But it's exactly what happened, Alistair. Gogic won the first header, flicked it on, and that was the problem. We thought they could maybe cause them. Main.
Here is Greg Taylor, pokes it forward. Now it's Hattati on the halfway line, left-hand side, back to Taylor. St Mirren already showing the kind of hard work they're going to put in over the course of the 90 minutes to try and get something from this game. Forward by Johnston for Moy. Still the ball hasn't gone out of play since that penalty claim as Jota comes forward. It's good backtracking though. Excellent play by Thierry Small to win it off Jota.
Really good. He wasn't favourite to win that race there. Jota had a good 2 metres on him. He showed a tremendous turn of pace to get up and get the ball back off Jota. The play's now stopped, so will there be a review?
Yeah, well, David Dickinson has, I think, just signalled for just the St Mirren players to hang on for a moment. And we're going to get a VAR review. The referee is coming across to have a look at it. He's coming across to the screen, Ange Postecoglou, with a wry smile on his face. Martin Dowden is our pitchside reporter and has had a view of the replays. Martin, what have you seen?
Yes, I thought initially as well it had come off Greg Taylor's chest. Clearly it hasn't. It has struck his arm. The question I think for the referee will be, where is his arm? It's not fully extended out, it seems natural to me, but it's all about interpretation, as we know.
David Dickinson, the referee, is down at the VAR screen just in front of us, moving the monitor to get the best possible view. Stephen, I did say sometimes our perspective wasn't the right one. It's a penalty. It's a penalty to St Mirren for a handball by Greg Taylor, which seems like an age ago, Peter, but the ball didn't go out of play for a long period, allowed Andrew Dallas in the VAR room all the time he needed.
It's interesting to see what he's going to give here because it was so close, and sometimes they say if you're that close they don't give the penalty kick, but he's decided to give it because Greg's hands, more for balance than anything, he's flicked over, tried to flick over his head. It's hit his hand, it definitely has hit his arm. Whether it's a penalty kick, I'm not sure, because it's usually, if it's an outstretched arm, if it's as close as that, they usually say no.
Well, Mark O'Hara, who scored in the victory here over Celtic, he also scored in the 5-1 Scottish Cup defeat from the penalty spot against Joe Hart. He's got the opportunity to open the scoring here against Joe Hart as he steps up right-footed. O'Hara scores! And St Mirren, just as they were back in September, have the opening goal, courtesy of the skipper, Mark O'Hara. The penalty into Joe Hart's bottom right corner. The keeper guessed right, but couldn't reach it. It's St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
Well, it's a very, very good penalty indeed. Joe Hart, you're correct, guesses the right way, but it's right into the side net, and a brilliant penalty from Mark O'Hara. And what a start from St Mirren. I mean, when we saw it happening in real time, I thought it hit his chest. It goes to show that you know, with VAR now in Scottish football, you really don't know whether it certainly wasn't intentional, whether his hand was in an unnatural position is yet to be seen.
I would definitely think, when you look at it now, it looks like a penalty kick. His hand's high, so I think they've made the right decision. Yeah, I think the referee's made the right decision because he stopped the ball going through.
Well, what a start for St Mirren. And I guess if you're going to have a chance of taking anything off Celtic, then getting the first goal is certainly a good position to be in. And Celtic, who have rarely faced domestic adversity, will have to come from behind if they're to win this one as well. It's a free kick to Celtic. Callum McGregor, the skipper, will take off plenty of time certainly for Celtic to get back into it.
Yeah, there's loads, and the thing is for St Mirren now, they've now got something to hold on to, but if they do sit deep and try and defend, invite pressure on from Celtic, and that's one thing that you don't want to do.
It's back with Joe Hart well outside of his penalty area, plays it short to Starfelt. And now it's Taylor, a man who was penalised for that handball. He can't find Maida, but it's knocked out of play by Strain. Taylor will take the throw in for Celtic midway inside the St Mirren half on the left-hand side as Celtic attack. Now it's back with Carter Vickers. Plays it for Johnston. Johnston can't reach it. Small picks up the loose ball. Now it's Bain get turned on the halfway line coming forward as St Mirren look for an early second goal into the penalty area. It comes. Grieve can't keep a hold of the ball under pressure from Starfelt and couldn't link with Kiltie either. And here comes Celtic now down the right hand side, and it's Jota. 8 minutes in, St Mirren 1, Celtic 0 as Jota tries a couple of step overs, ball into the box as well, defended by Alex Gogic right on the edge of the penalty area, and he gets it to Small, and now the goal scorer O'Hara, who's been excellent in the heart of the midfield for St Mirren this season, and a key reason for them being up challenging for a European spot this season. Knocked away out of play for a Celtic throw-in, but well, just the start Stephen Robinson's side would have wanted. As Carter Vickers plays it square for Starfelt. Now it's Taylor up towards the halfway line, out to Maida on the left-hand side, attacking the St Mirren back line. It takes a deflection on its way into the penalty area. Kyogo hits the deck as Dunn gets it clear. It's back with Callum McGregor about 25 yards from goal. Now Johnston. McGregor once more 30 yards out, central area. Now Taylor, left-hand side, just outside the box. St Mirren looking to stay organised, not allow any passes through the lines. McGregor forced back to the halfway line and into his own half indeed for Carter Vickers. Plays it short for Hatate. Hatate gets the pass off to McGregor. It's difficult for him to control. O'Hara nicks it off him. Now it's Main. Grieve makes the run ahead of him. Carter Vickers should be too strong and too quick for him. He does just enough to hold him off. Grieve was making life really difficult for him. Starfelt is there to collect the loose ball after Carter Vickers did enough to hold Grieve off, but I think we can already see St Mirren are not going to easily relinquish the lead they've built up in these early stages. Almost 10 minutes played. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
I think the interesting thing is that Celtic have turned the ball over too many times in the middle of the pitch and not allowing them to settle in the game. They get into good areas and then they give the ball away cheaply. And also it's interesting watching St Mirren's back line. They're coming in after the midfield players, so if Moy and that come, the centre backs coming all the way, leaving spaces.
Straying into the penalty area it comes. Joe Hart out to collect almost in the penalty spot before Grieve can make anything of it, and he bowls it out underarm to his captain Callum McGregor. Slips it through for Moy. It's a good ball. Moy out to the right hand side to Jota, coming in off the right flank, back to Moy, midway inside the St Mirren half, matched by Gogic. It's McGregor now for Taylor, who's in a central area, and plays out to the angle of the box for Maida to try and take on Strain. He shows too much of it though to Kiltie, who knocks it away, and his former Kilmarnock teammate Greg Taylor picks up. McGregor now, Taylor, that comes off the arm of Bacchus, and it'll be a free kick to Celtic midway inside the St Mirren half. Left hand side is Stephen Robinson, right on the touchline there, getting the instructions onto his side. I mean, he's been in the job just over a year now, Stephen, and I was writing a piece for the website this week, and I'm not sure too many St Mirren fans are being overwhelmed by his appointment, but my goodness, they'll be delighted with the job he's done in the last 12 months.
He's done a fantastic job, and even when the season didn't start all that well and he was getting a wee bit of stick at the start of the season, he's really turned that round. What he has got is a very energetic, very well organised team. He's obviously a very, very good coach, and the St Mirren fans are turning out in numbers on a weekly basis to watch his team, so it's all going well for him.
Here comes Celtic though. Jota right hand side, back went Dunn to get the clearance in, knocks it out for a throw-in over on the far side. Just been pointed out to me that St Mirren haven't lost the game this season, having taken the lead, which augurs well, but
commentators cuss there, Al, come on.
Here's Jota into the penalty area it comes, headed away by Fraser, picked up by Main just at the edge of his own box, and then it's Small, just clears his lines up to the halfway line. It goes. Celtic pick up once more, and it's Moy on the right hand side. Well challenged though by Dunn.
Never a foul.
Well, it didn't look like a foul to me. It looked like a good solid challenge by Dunn. Moy hit the deck and does win the free kick. 12 minutes in though, and St Mirren have the 1-goal advantage thanks to Mark O'Hara's early penalty for a Greg Taylor handball.
Looks shoulder to shoulder to me, Peter.
But nowadays you're no contacts, even anything behind are giving free kicks.
Yeah.
I mean, as we say, it's changed obviously since we played. If we done that was just a fair challenge. But it is a problem for them that they've got to be careful with it, because he's coming in all the way after Moy, and there's big gaps between the fullback and the other centre back now, and Jota's getting a couple of times, and that could cause them an issue.
It will be Moy, former buddy, to take the free kick, swings it in, it's won by Gogic. Comes out to Hatate, who controls it and then volleys it back to Moy on the right hand side. He knocks it forward for Johnston on the goal line. Johnston stands it up to the back post. Kyogo's there, can't really bring it under control first touch, but he manages to squeeze it back into the 6-yard box. Small's there to knock it out of play for a Celtic throw-in, just a few yards away from the corner flag on the left hand side. 13 minutes in, St Mirren have the 1-goal lead Celtic look to level things up as soon as possible. Taylor looking for options. Moy gets it back to him from the throw, and now it's Hatate in for McGregor. McGregor gets a good pass into Moy. Hatate once more left hand side for Taylor, about 15 yards away from the goal line. Hatate picks up once more and knocks it back onto the halfway line to Carter Vickers. Celtic staying patient, looking for the opening to arise as Jota gets it from Johnston, and then it's infield to Moy, and Jota once more back to McGregor. Celtic continuing to move the ball about, but McGregor's pass for Maida out to this near side was overhit, out for a St Mirren throw-in, and an excellent start to the match, you would have to say, from the home side.
Yes, St Mirren are working really hard against the ball, just trying to make Celtic make mistakes. They'll get the first pass in, they'll close down the next one, and they've got to keep doing that, because it's difficult to do that. Celtic are moving it, and they've got very good players with a very good first touch, so if you don't get it right, it could cause you problems, but they're doing it very well at this moment in time.
Throw-in taken by Fraser, he gets the ball back and just hoists it high over the halfway line. Main and Starfelt come together. It's out for a Celtic throw-in. Starfelt not happy with the home ball girl, who tells him to take another ball that's back in the pitch.
Brilliant.
That was like my wife there.
I don't think the St Mirren ball boys and girls are operating at the same pace as they do at Celtic Park.
Here's Johnston out to the right hand side for Jota. He just flicks it on for Moy, right hand side into Hatate, takes it on the chest, knocks it forward, looking for the continued run of Jota, but off its line comes Trevor Carson. Heard you in the office talking yesterday about Trevor Carson, Tom. I think you've been impressed by the season he's been having.
Really, really good. I mean, St Mirren have been lucky over the course of the last 3-4 years that they've had really, really good goalkeepers, but he has been a rock this season.
Here's Jota, right hand side for Celtic, still the trail by a goal to nil with a quarter of an hour on the clock. McGregor knocks it back to Starfelt on the halfway line. Out to the left hand side it comes to Taylor. McGregor picks up once more, shadowed by Bacchus. Maida now left hand side, strains on him. McGregor once more for Taylor in an advanced position, plays it for Maida. He asks a lot of him. Sliding challenge comes in from Fraser. It was a good one, and then it's picked up by Strain, who just feeds it down the right hand side. Starfelt tries to head it down to a teammate, but Bacchus is there, and now it's O'Hara out to the left hand side for Small. Trying to attack Alistair Johnston down the St Mirren left. Swings the ball in. Starfelt's there to defend it before Main could get onto it. It's a good ball in from Small, who looks a really good addition in on loan from Southampton.
Fantastic defending, Alistair Starfelt. Fantastic defending. A great ball, as you say, from Small. Showed a lot of pace, actually. 1v1, he got to Johnson and delivered early, and made a very good run, but to be fair to Starfelt, he done a fantastic defending, getting his body across.
He did. I mean, Main made the right run, and the ball in from Small, who started the game very well indeed, was perfect, but Starfelt in the right place at the right time to clear the danger.
Thierry Small, who at one stage became Everton's youngest ever player at 16 when he was given his debut by Carlo Ancelotti, and still only 18, and looks the part as Jota picks up against Small, trying to get the better of him, but again it's well defended by Small. Then O'Hara seemed to take Jota out of play, and David Dickinson seemed to let that go initially, and then decides no, it was a free kick, and I think it is the right decision ultimately, but he almost let that go, Peter.
I think it was his linesman that actually told him.
Yeah.
He said to him it was a free kick. It was an action, but it's definitely a free kick. But he slipped. Mark O'Hara, I think it was, slipped, and that's what brought Jota down.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't intentional, but he still took Jota out of the play.
Yes.
And it will be a Celtic free kick about 25 yards inside the St Mirren half, right of centre. Callum McGregor over it. He'll just take it short out to Jota on the right hand side. He slides it forward for Johnston. Again, Small is in there to cut the pass out, and it's out for a throw-in over on the far side, almost down at the corner flag on the Celtic right. Still they trail by a goal to nil, 17.5 minutes on the clock. Mark O'Hara from the penalty spot has made the difference in the early stages of this game. The final game of the Premiership weekend. Highlights tonight, 7:15 on the BBC Scotland channel. Here's Carter Vickers down the right. Johnston just tries to let the ball run beyond him. He fouled O'Hara in the process, and St Mirren will get the free kick this time. A chance for a bit of a breather, because they are putting in a lot of work, as you have to do against Celtic, but it's paying off so far.
It is. I mean, It's very difficult to maintain that over 90 minutes, but St Mirren are doing a terrific job just now of nullifying Celtic's threat. A lot of Celtic possession, as you'd expect, but it's all in front of St Mirren, and they're compact in their shape, and Celtic haven't really threatened the St Mirren goal so far in the game.
Free kick taken by Carson, really well won by Curtis Main. He felt he was fouled there by Starfelt in the jump, but nothing given, and Celtic pick up in their own half, and it's Greg Taylor looks up and just pokes it forward for Hatate out to the left-hand side for Maida. Maida nudges it back to Hatate on the halfway line, left-hand side, back to Starfelt it goes. As Celtic look to start again, it's back with Joe Hart, beaten from the spot by O'Hara. Third goal for O'Hara this season against Celtic, and his 7th all told. Starfelt once more, pressurised by Main, who won't stop running, goes to close down Hart. Now it's Carter Vickers. He's under pressure from Grieve, who gets it square to Starfelt, still inside their own penalty area. Now the Swede comes forward and plays it to Taylor, just outside the centre circle. Flicks it back for McGregor. McGregor for Moy, and then on to Johnston on the right-hand side for Celtic. Further out to Jota it goes on the touchline. Infield to Moy. Back with Jota. It's a misplaced pass though. It's picked up by the Kiwi Grieve, who looks up and then tries to feed it for Main. It's an ambitious pass, and Main's never going to get onto that. It's back with Joe Hart. 19.5 on the clock. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
It's just in that middle third that Celtic have got to be just a wee bit more careful, because if they pick the pass, but there seem to be a lot of players slipping. I've had a little bit of rain before the game, and you can just see a few of the boys slipping on the pitch for both teams.
Taylor forward for Maida, left-hand side, back with Hatate. Hatate, the last league game he didn't start was the defeat here at the Smythe Stadium back in September. He's started every single game since then, and it's no coincidence, I wouldn't imagine, that Celtic have won all of those apart from the draw at Ibrox. Here's Hatate just outside the penalty area. Such an important signing he's been for Ange Postecoglou. Picked up by Starfelt midway inside the St Mirren half. Plays it short to Hatate. Hatate forward for Maida. Edge of the box. Back to Hatate once more. St Mirren looking to close off the gaps. Hatate gets another bite at the pass, but he can't get it through to Moy, and O'Hara picks up and plays it to Small, left-hand side for St Mirren, about 15-20 yards inside his own half, looking for options. Plays it short to Bacchus, and now it's done forward, looking for Main, but it's Carter Vickers who picks up and nods it down to McGregor. McGregor lifts it over the top, looking for Jota. Is he offside? He looks like he's well ahead of the St Mirren defence, and in any case it skips off the damp turf and behind for a goal kick. The assistant puts up his flag belatedly in any case, but it will be a goal kick, I think, for St Mirren. 21 on the clock. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
It's interesting that a couple of times they've given possession away. You're watching Stevie Robinson, he's going a little bit crazy at the side, because Curtis Main and Ali Grieve had an opportunity to go behind, and both of them came short, and Starfelt that step in front, and it just kept the pressure on St Mirren. He's looking for them to make that run in behind to stretch Celtic. Probably that's the best one if you can get behind the likes of Starfelt and Vickers, because it's only 2v2.
I talked about only Rangers and Celtic having better home records than St Mirren. Only those two have conceded fewer home goals as well. St Mirren have lost just 9 in I think they're 13 games at home so far, and in fact defensively overall St Mirren's record is bettered only by the top two. So they're well drilled, well organised. Every single player out there from front to back knows their job, and it will be difficult for Celtic to break them down, particularly on this ground where St Mirren have accumulated most of their points this season, and they've lost it against Celtic but quickly win it back. And Starfelt picking up the loose ball and plays it to Johnston just inside his own half. Out to the right hand side it goes to Jota, up against Small. The Portuguese trying to take him on, step over and then swings it into the box. Carson collides with his defender Ryan Strain there and almost loses the ball, but it's hacked clear in the first moment of indecision, you might say, in the St Mirren box, but Celtic couldn't capitalise. Still, it's 1-0 they trail.
But it just shows you, Alison, how well they're coached. That was at one of the League Cup ties at the start of the season against Airdrie when they lost, and Airdrie gave them a doing, and they were shouting for Stevie's head.
Here's Jota down the right hand side into the penalty area. It comes, it's Fraser out to Hatate. Oh, just over the bar. Hatate really got a hold of that, but it was always rising from 18 yards out. and it flies over Trevor Carson's bar. First real opportunity for Celtic in the game, just over the top. 23 played.
I think it just clipped the bar, actually. I think it actually clipped the bar there.
It was poor defending from St Mirren in terms of trying to clear their box. I think it was Marcus Fraser. He does a kind of scorpion kick, and then it just falls to the edge of the box. Hatate catches it so cleanly on the half volley, and yeah, I think it does just clip the top of the bar.
You say Trevor Carson's not had much to do, but the two crosses that have come in the box have caused them a problem.
Yeah.
Celtic still looking for the equaliser, but Hatate within a couple of inches of doing so there. As Bacchus wins it for St Mirren on the right-hand side. Strain keeps it in. McGregor, though, wins it back off him. In comes Bacchus once more. Brilliant battling there from the young Aussie. Celtic play it forward. Kyogo losing out there to Dunn. He's been extremely quiet so far. Kyogo hasn't had any service, you would have to say, but St Mirren...
That's what worries you.
Well, exactly. St Mirren will know that does not mean anything. At this stage, Kyogo with 24 goals already this season, 19 in the league, and they will absolutely know they'll have to keep be on their toes, the St Mirren backline, all game long to make sure he doesn't add to that tally this afternoon. It's out for a throw-in on the far side to Celtic, with 20 minutes left in the clock in this first period. St Mirren with the advantage. Hart just plays it out short to Starfelt, and out to the left-hand side it comes to Greg Taylor. Looks to get past Kiltie, who matches his run. Plays it infield instead to Hatate, just inside his own half. Hatate looking for options. Comes back to Taylor, 10 yards inside St Mirren's half. Moy goes down under the challenge of Dunn. And it will be a Celtic free kick. Dunn's not happy. Again, it didn't look to be too much in it.
It was fairly soft, but he does kind of put both hands on the back of Aaron Moy's back, and it gives Aaron Moy the opportunity to go down. And now Dunn's going to get a wee word from the referee for his protests. I mean, they are doing it exceptionally well. One of the three centre-halves dropping in on Moy or any midfielder who's advanced, and it really does kind of snuff Celtic out. They're going to have to find different ways to break St Mirren down. It's not going to be through the central areas and wee pockets in front of the back lot, you would think.
It's probably that space, Stephen, as you said, in between the outside centre back and the wing back. That's the space you're going to get.
So it is a free kick to Celtic, about 30 yards, maybe just a little bit more than that from goal, left of centre. Aaron Moy to swing this in. Right-footed in towards the back post. It's Gogic who wins the header. It'll come for Hatate, will it? Just right-hand side of the penalty. He gets a touch there before O'Hara, and then he tries to fire it across goal, and it's straight behind for a goal kick. Wasteful for once from Hatate, as St Mirren will get the goal kick, and it remains St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
It's a great ball in, and it's unusual for Hatate to make the wrong choice. You know, he thought he'd just put it back into the danger area there. It was an opportunity. You can see St Mirren's trying to frustrate Celtic. Trevor's going slow for the ball behind the goal. The ball's not coming back, and it's allowing St Mirren to settle and get together, and that's what you would do if you were Stevie Robinson.
Trevor Carson, all in pink, preparing to take the goal kick. Long over the halfway line, one for Grieve to challenge, but Carter Vickers wins the header. Dunn is under pressure there from Kyogo, and he does well eventually. Dunn, I thought he was just about to lose out to the Japanese striker, but eventually managed to get his lines cleared. Well, it's just a small example of the threat of Kyogo, so quick over the first few yards and almost made up the ground on Dunn.
It's hard to remember how many times he's actually touched the ball, Kyogo, in the game.
Yes.
It must be single figures.
Here comes Celtic, right-hand side, it's Moy playing Jota. Jota up against Small, cuts in from that right-hand side. Step over once more, waits for support from Johnston outside of him, just in the angle of the box on the right-hand side. Short ball in for Hatate, now Jota, lovely little flick. Jota, oh, brilliant save from Trevor Carson to knock it over the crossbar. It looked goal-bound from Jota, wonderful build-up from Celtic, the strike from Jota, and a terrific save from Trevor Carson to keep it 1-0 St Mirren.
A brilliant play. Good link-up play, good movement, but good players just playing the game, you know, and it's a fantastic strike, as you say, and a wonderful save.
Corner kick then to Celtic, right-hand side, to be taken by Moy. Trevor Carson's reflexes there, and also the strength in the arm to push it over the crossbar. As Moy steps up, right-footed from the right-hand side, flicked on by Johnston. Starfelt gets something on it as well. High in the air off the head of Strain. Hattati picks up outside the penalty area. Plays it square for Starfelt, he just leaves it to McGregor. Midway inside the St Mirren half, out to the left-hand side for Taylor. Back with McGregor. Plays it square to Jota. About 10 yards inside St Mirren territory. Back with Starfelt, who's Celtic's deepest outfield player right now. McGregor now left-hand side to Taylor. Taylor up towards the edge of the St Mirren box. It comes Moy with a rather lackadaisical looking pass, looking for McGregor, and it's snuffed out by O'Hara, who goes back the way to Dunn. Quickly closed down by Kyogo, left-hand side, and Dunn just knocks it long over the halfway line. One for Grieve to go and challenge Starfelt. Starfelt first to it, then Carter Vickers knocks it all the way back to his goalkeeper. As St Mirren still lead by a goal to nil. Mark O'Hara from the penalty spot after just 6 minutes. The handball from Greg Taylor was penalised, noticed by the VAR Andrew Dallas, and confirmed after an on-field review by David Dickinson, the referee, as St Mirren won the throw-in over on the far side. They've played 29 minutes in Paisley. It's St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
Another great example there, Peter, of the centre half stepping in on Aaron Moy there. He's having no joy whatsoever, Aaron Moy. Every time he touches the ball, there's a St Mirren player behind him and in front of him, making it very, very difficult and compact for him to be able to control the game.
Absolutely, and I think that Stephen, you know, as a striker, I think what Aaron's maybe got to do is just adjust and move to the side of it instead of coming straight all the time, which makes it easy for the defender. If he adjusts and then gives him a problem, it just makes his angle a little bit and turn his body position, because at this moment in time Dunn and that are quite happy if he's receiving it square.
Here's Johnston for Moy, and back out to the right hand side it goes for Jota to run it Small. Small stands up, makes the challenge. Was he fouled in there? That's the claim, certainly. And again, David Dickinson just takes a couple of seconds and then makes the award. And it will be a St Mirren free kick just on the edge of their own penalty area as we cross the half-hour point in the game. And it's very much going to plan, you would have to say, at this stage for Stephen Robinson and St Mirren.
It is. I mean, he's just down in this touchline, absolutely hammering the boys, because he wants them to play it and turn the Celtic backline, because they're under so much pressure in the game that when they're trying to play it into midfield, they're often losing it, and he just wants them to turn it, hit it long, chase it and squeeze everybody up behind it.
If you're going to play Celtic that series, you would say that they're going to have spaces down for the fullbacks, because they're always placed narrow and they're attacking. You want to get down the side of centre-backs, but if you play in front of Starfelt and Vickers, it's going to cause you a problem.
Gogic knocks it to the right-hand side for Strain, clips it forward for Kiltie. Kiltie goes down under the challenge of Greg Taylor, and it'll be a St Mirren free kick just 15 yards inside their own half right-hand side. And another chance for them to just kill a bit of the pace of the game, take the high tempo that Celtic want to play out of it. And Marcus Fraser will take this free kick. Again, taking his time over it. Right-hand side looking for options ahead of him. The Celtic fans and Ange Postecoglou asking, when's this free kick going to actually be taken, as Starfelt wins the header above Grieve. Hattati heads it on also. Bacchus can't get it beyond Maida, but in steps Fraser. It breaks the way of Carter Vickers, who plays it square midway inside his own half to Johnston. Jota went down off the ball, and coming together with Small, but play continues with McGregor playing it to Johnston on the halfway line, right hand side. Jota infield for Moy. Moy knocks it back to Johnston, and now McGregor takes over 10 yards inside St Mirren half. Taylor now out to Maida, left hand side. Celtic looking for an equaliser. He can't get past Strain. Good defending from the Aussie wing back. Starfelt picks up possession but can't find Maida. Strain again doing some good work, plays it back to Fraser, who knocks it up towards the halfway line. Kiltie trying to knock it down for Grieve, but he plays it instead to Taylor of Celtic, and then Hattati gets it to McGregor. Now it's Moy, 10 yards inside St Mirren half. Jota with a lovely little flick for Johnston. Johnston into the penalty area, headed away by Fraser. Back out towards Johnston, who will just take the throw in midway inside the St Mirren half. 13 minutes till the interval. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0. Mark O'Hara with the only goal of the game so far from the spot, as Starfelt gets it out to Maida. Maida left hand side, midway inside the St Mirren half. Back it goes to Starfelt. Grieve just closing down the angles. Starfelt gets the pass off to Hattati left hand side. Now it's Taylor, and back with Hattati looking to move away from Kiltie, which he does successfully, then leaves it to Johnston. Johnston in the halfway line, plays it back to Starfelt. Starfelt about 15 yards inside his own half. Forward it goes to McGregor on the halfway line, gets turned and then plays it out to Moy. Moy right hand side, nudges it to Jota, slides it forward once more for the run of Moy. Moy into the penalty area, Dunn's there, but it comes back to Moy into the 6-yard box, and Trevor Carson down to smother it before Maida can make anything of it. And it remains St Mirren 1, Celtic 0, 33 played.
They've just got to be careful, Celtic, they don't end up with a front five, because it makes it easier for St Mirren to defend then, because there's no gaps. They can hold the runs a little bit. If Maida and that come a little bit even shorter and then bring the wing back out, there's spaces in there. But if they stand up there, then it becomes a problem for them, because, as I say, St Mirren are just quite happy to sit as that back five then.
Here's Starfelt in possession for Celtic. Not too far outside his own penalty area as Celtic look to build. It's a nice pass from McGregor out to Johnston on the right hand side, who releases Jota. Small trying to get back at him. Jota with the early ball in, Dunn with the clearance at his near post, and they've done fabulously well. That's St Mirren back three so far, clearing everything that's come in to their 18-yard box. As Carter Vickers picks up possession, plays it back to Starfelt just inside his own half, and a quick ball out to Taylor, who's able to come forward. Kiltie trying to stick with him. Now it's Maida left hand side, about 25 yards from the corner flag. Two St Mirren players across to close him down. He goes back to Hattati, still on the left hand side for Celtic. Just over 10 to play in this first period. St Mirren with the goal advantage. Taylor closed down by Strain, gets it back to Hattati. His pass is cut out by Bacchus. Bacchus feeds it forward for Main, chests it looking for Kiltie. In steps Starfelt to win it back for Celtic. Taylor then gets it to McGregor, and now Hattati coming forward. St Mirren looking just a little bit out of shape just now, but Gogic charges down the shot. It was a good block. Comes back to Johnston now, just outside the St Mirren penalty area. Right hand side is Moy on the angle. Now McGregor takes over again, plays it short to Taylor just outside the box, looks up, infield for Hattati. Can he get the shot away? Just back heels it. Shot comes in, it's deflected wide for a corner. It was Jota with the left foot shot, and it will be a Celtic corner as they ramp up the pressure as half time approaches, still trailing by a goal to nil.
Fantastic ball in with Taylor and a great touch with Hattati. And they got the break, St Mirren. We obviously deflection by for the corner.
It'll be a St Mirren Celtic corner from the left hand side as they attack, again to be taken by Moy. Plays it short for Jota. Out comes Strain. Now McGregor back to Moy, still left hand side. Moy now whips it into the penalty area, but he can't get it over the head of Bacchus, and St Mirren will try and counter it. Strain, he's more or less up on his own grieve, trying to make some ground now. Taylor not sure whether to come or hold him off, but he eventually makes the challenge, and Strain fouls him, and then he kicks the ball away, and we're going to get the first yellow card of the game for doing so. It goes to Ryan Strain of St Mirren, and the home fans not happy, but it was a fair enough decision, I think, from the referee, as Ryan Strain just tried to waste a bit of time. But it will remain with 9 minutes until the interval. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
Great defending by Greg Taylor, 1v1, he backed off and made the right decision, because Celtic could give the ball away cheaply. Now it's interesting, you've seen Jota switching at wings now and going to have a go at Strain, who's just been booked.
Here's Maida right hand side though. Small gets back at him. He's been excellent in this first period, you have to say, and he just shepherds that ball out of play. But so impressive for the 18-year-old so far in this game. Started the last couple of games before this one, and you can see what Stephen Robinson has seen about him to put him in that left wing back role, and he's done brilliantly, first against Jota and then against Maida.
Yeah, and you know, Maida's very, very quick, but it just shows you the pace of Thierry Small there. And then when he does get there, he's very, very strong indeed, and just shepherds the ball out for the bye kick for St Mirren.
Kyogo chases the ball through the middle. Dunn, oh, that's a short pass back, and as he brought down Kyogo, he could go off here. Charles Dunn, it looks like a big error. David Dickinson reaches for the card, and it's red. St Mirren down to 10. He was shot with the back pass. He realised that he dragged Kyogo back, and it's a penalty as well. I wasn't sure if it was just outside or just inside the area, but David Dickinson has pointed to the spot, and this game could just have turned in the blink of an eye. The Celtic have the chance for an equaliser from the spot. St Mirren down to 10. Charles Dunn walks off, and he cannot believe it. Big error from the centre back.
He knew straight away, Al, as soon as he did it. He didn't get enough on the pass back, and he knew as soon as he dragged Kyogo to the floor that he was going to be sent off. It's the right decision. Whether or not it's in or out the box, we've yet to hear. I wonder whether or not he'll get a recall from his people helping him in the VAR studio. It certainly looked very close to the line.
Well, the VAR, Andrew Dallas, I beg your pardon, will be looking at this to determine whether it was inside or outside, as Aaron Moy puts the ball on the spot, prepared to take the penalty if it is confirmed. But Charles Dunn, I guess it's just, I mean, as soon as he's shot with the pass back, it's just instinctive to pull Kyogo back, when actually you're probably better just taking the chance that your goalkeeper will come out and get him out of trouble.
Absolutely, and I think that's exactly what we were saying about Moy. Body position, you see the difference with Kyogo. He played on the side of him. Now he's got a problem because he's trying to come out tight. All of a sudden the ball's down the side of him. Kyogo's away from him, too quick for him. It's definitely an order off. Whether it's in the box, I can't see.
Well, we've got a replay on the go just now. I think that's probably just outside.
He's definitely started pulling him outside it. Kyogo's
Did it continue into the box?
Continues in the box, and that's the issue.
Yeah, if it's a pull and he's still got a hold of him in the box, then it will be a penalty.
Yeah.
That's what Andrew Dallas has got to.
Oh, penalty, yeah.
Yeah, it is a penalty.
Free kick, he's brought it back.
I beg your pardon. He's brought it back. And I thought David Dickinson would come across and have a check of that for himself. I have to say, if he was advised that it was outside the box, I thought he would come across and confirm that for himself, but he's just given the free kick. I thought he was pointing to the spot to confirm it, but actually, in fact, he was just
so
pointing.
the players thought the same, Alistair. They thought the same. They all went outside the box.
But it will be a free kick right on the edge. I mean, it's millimetres outside, and still a chance for Celtic to equalise here, but probably you would have to say not as
well,
obvious a chance.
I don't know the rules. If you're still pulling, you're in the box.
Yeah, no, that definitely is a case. If you're still pulling and it's inside the box, it should be a penalty.
Then, it's a penalty kick then if you still hold them.
And
it's interesting they're telling the referee not to come and have a look. They do it for everything else.
Well, we'll see out this free kick. It's taken shot. It's Callum McGregor, but the shot is blocked though on the edge of the box by Marcus Fraser, and the chance is gone as Richard Taylor prepares to come on for St Mirren, who are down to 10 men regardless of that penalty being overturned, as Gogic heads the latest ball in clear and Kilty picks up down the right hand side. But at least they've got something to hold on to, but it's going to be a massive task with just 10 men to do that for the final 50 minutes of this game.
It will be, but I mean, they'll bring on Taylor and it won't really change. I'd imagine one of the strikers will go off, so defensively they'll be set up in a very similar manner.
Can Celtic?
Makes it much so more difficult, but when you've only got one striker up there trying to relentless passing for the back, you know, that's where it makes it relentless.
Johnston brought to the ground by Gogic on the edge of the box, but there was nothing wrong with the challenge that time round, and Celtic will pick up possession once more just inside the St Mirren half, threaded forward by McGregor for Jota, and now Moy. McGregor once more. Celtic continue to probe. They know they will get opportunities. No need to panic as Jota picks up left hand side, trying to take on Kilty. Into the box it comes. It's deflected though by Kilty, and Strain able to get it clear. St Mirren waiting to get Richard Taylor onto the park to replace, I would guess, Alec Grieve will be the player to come on, with Curtis Bain being left up on his own. But we'll see what Stephen Robinson decides as Johnston picks up right hand side for Celtic. Back to McGregor it goes, 25 yards from goal. Johnston once more, then McGregor back the way to Carter Vickers. St Mirren still working ever so hard. Celtic likewise doing so to try and break St Mirren down. It's Taylor left hand side, infield to Jota, about 30 yards from goal. Taylor once more, still on the left, plays it back infield for Hatate. Hatate pokes it to McGregor about 30 yards out, looking for an opportunity to get a shot off. It's Jota picking up left hand side, dinks it into the box. It's cleared away by Grieve, back doing some defending inside his own box. Up to the halfway line it goes, 2.5 minutes plus injury time until the break. Still Richard Taylor awaits a break in play to come on. as Starfield picks up for Celtic and starts the latest attack. It's Taylor now outside the box for Celtic, into McGregor for Johnston. Carter Vickers now forward for Hattati and back to Starfield, and now it's Taylor, angle of the box, left hand side. Hattati dummies it, good intervention from Gogic to stab it out the penalty area. Eventually comes out to Jota, left hand side, probing for a way through this well organised St Mirren backline. It's Carter Vickers midway inside the St Mirren half. Johnston now back to Starfield. It's all Celtic as they look for an equaliser. Hattati challenged right on the edge of the box by Fraser. He hits the deck and St Mirren pick up possession. It's threaded forward by Strain. Main won't get onto it though, and Celtic have possession back, and Hart comes out of his penalty area to knock it forward once more. It's McGregor out to the right hand side, plenty of room for Maida. Maida about 30 yards from goal, comes in off the right, plays it short back to McGregor to the right hand side once more to Johnston this time, forward for Moy, almost in the goal line, across goal it comes. Gogic is in the way though, and now Small can just knock it clear over the halfway line. No St Mirren players up there at this stage to try and hold the ball up. It's out for a throw-in over on the far side. We will get this stoppage now, and it will be Alex Grieve to be replaced by Richard Taylor, who himself was sent off against Celtic in the Scottish Cup just recently. And Alex Grieve, who's already done a power of work in the opening 45, will be taken off. And as you say, Stephen, it'll just be a case of pretty much the same setup, only you're playing with one striker.
Well, the last 5 minutes has been, ever since the sending off, has been a picture of what the second half's going to look like in this game. It'll be pretty much all Celtic possession. It's just whether or not they can find a way to break down that St Mirren back five, which they haven't managed to do yet in the game.
But I think we end up with so much of the ball, it's very difficult, not to get opportunities and chances, and Celtic have got the players that can take their chances. The problem is when they win the ball back, as we've seen, they've only got that one target now, and that's very difficult for Curtis Main to be able to do anything, to hold anything up, even to run behind. When you've got a second striker along with you, it's obviously a lot easier, and Stephen will tell you, but when you've got that one striker, it makes it so difficult. The ball just keeps coming.
It's a thankless task. He's got to just feed off scraps, and if he can hold the ball up, win a throw in, anything at all that gets Mirren a wee bit of respite is what he's going to have to do. But yeah, not particularly enjoyable.
4 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0. Celtic were awarded a penalty, but it was overturned by the VAR. But Richard Dunn was sent off for dragging back Kyogo. Here comes Maida, edge of the penalty area, leaves it to Johnston on the right hand side, back with McGregor. Celtic hoping to go in level at the break. They trail by a goal to nil right now. It's Jota, left hand side. Now Greg Taylor takes over. Jota once more, attacking that St Mirren penalty area. Plays it square. It's a wayward pass to Johnston, who will go and keep it in. Will he? Not quite. And St Mirren will take the throw in, and they'll take plenty time in going over there to take the throw in. We've played a minute of the 4 of stoppage time, and it remains St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
Maybe an opportunity now for Celtic at 2v1 with a wing back now, because St Mirren are so narrow now. When they get the ball wide, I thought Alistair Johnson should actually went by Maida there, and he stayed behind them. But if he went past it, he's on the back line, and that's what he'll have to do against St Mirren, because they're so solid right through the middle of the pitch.
It's back with Carl Starfelt, who plays it short to Greg Taylor. He approaches the halfway line and then crosses it, and then plays a short ball to Hattati. Left hand side for Celtic. Now Jota slides it forward for Taylor, who's continued his run. It comes off Kilty, and it'll be a Celtic throw in. A couple of minutes of stoppage time still to play. Celtic throw about 10 or 15 yards from the corner flag on the Celtic left. Taylor to take for Hattati. Now back with Starfelt. Carter Vickers picks up just outside the centre circle. Was it short to his captain McGregor? McGregor out to the left for Taylor. Can Celtic grab an equaliser before half-time? Taylor, it's Hatate and it's blocked by Fraser. It came off Richard Taylor initially. His first involvement is coming on as a sub, and it fell kindly for Hatate, who lashed it a goal, but Fraser was in the way, and it will be a Celtic corner, and it's St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
It was a really poor clearance from Taylor. Yes, he's just on the pitch, but he's got to do better with that, and it falls, and it is goal bound before Marcus Fraser manages to get the block in.
Corner taken short. It's Hatate edge of the penalty area, looking for room to get another shot in, but he's quickly closed down by Bacchus. He does get the pass off to Carter Vickers, who goes for goal straight into the midriff of Trevor Carson from 20 yards. Carter Vickers caught it cleanly, but it was straight at the keeper. And 10-man St Mirren look like they're going to go in at the interval with a goal advantage.
They've worked exceptionally hard. You've got to give them credit where credit's due. Celtic have had a lot of the ball, as they usually do, but they've not really worked. Carson's had a great save with his left hand over the bar. Hatate's hit the bar, but I think the manager will be disappointed that there's not as much goalmouth action as he'd probably want in the first period with having so much of the ball.
30 seconds remaining as Small brings down Maida over on the far side. Well, I thought he did, but plays continued. That looked to me like...
I think he actually slipped, Alistair.
Yeah,
I think he's knocked it by him and he actually slipped. And to be fair to me, he wasn't claiming for it himself.
Yeah. Celtic still have it. Halfway line, it's Carter Vickers. But there is the half-time whistle. A very, very eventful first half that got off to an absolutely ideal start as far as the home side are concerned. Just a few minutes in and there was a claim for a handball against Greg Taylor. The play seemed to go on for an eternity before it eventually was stopped, and the VAR, Andrew Dallas, invited the referee David Dickinson across to have another look at the claim, and then Greg Taylor was indeed penalised for a handball, and up stepped Mark O'Hara to score from the spot as he did at Celtic Park in the Scottish Cup recently, and also opened the scoring as he did in the 2-0 victory over Celtic earlier in the season, slotting it past Joe Hart to make it 1-0 St Mirren. Since then, Celtic have pressed for an equaliser. Hatate clipped the top of the bar with a sweet effort midway through the first half. Jota had a good strike, really well saved by Trevor Carson. And then 7 minutes before the break, Charles Dunn was shot with a pass back to his keeper. Immediately tried to haul down Kyogo to stop him latching onto the short back pass. And that was a red for the St Mirren defender. David Dickinson pointed to the spot, but was then advised by the VAR that it was outside the box, fractionally outside, and so the penalty became a free kick. But St Mirren are down to 10 men. They've defended stoutly so far. They'll have to do so for the next 45 if they're to repeat the feat of September and record another victory over Celtic. At half-time, it's St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
St Mirren versus Celtic.
That was an absolute belter.
This is Sports Sound from BBC Radio Scotland.
It has certainly been an incident-packed 45 minutes in Paisley, and St Mirren, despite the disadvantage of being down to 10 men, are halfway towards repeating that incredible feat of last September when they became the only team to have beaten Celtic in the Premiership so far this season. Just a quick reminder, Off the Ball coming up at 3 o'clock. On between 3 and 5, there's a Sports Scene Highlights programme at 7:15, BBC Scotland, so you'll be able to make your own mind up on some of the key calls that we've already seen in Paisley. There's the SWPL stream that's currently available, or will be in the next few minutes. Spartans against Rangers in the Women's Premier League, of course. Look out for the verdict online on Monday. Richard Foster and Stuart Dougal at bbc.co.uk/Sports Scotland as they look back at some of the big key VAR calls over the course of the weekend. And a little pointer to more live action both on the telly and radio coming up in the week ahead. Friday night, Caley Thistle against Kilmarnock starts off our coverage of the Scottish Cup quarter-finals. But do join us on Wednesday. We're on at 7 for 3 big games in the Premiership. Celtic against Hearts, Hibernian against Rangers, Livingston against Dundee United. Full coverage with us on Wednesday evening, and highlights that night on Sports Scene, 11:25 on BBC One. Later, we'll look back on all the action from yesterday, but so much to look back on from the opening half between St Mirren and Celtic. The Saints are ahead thanks to a very early penalty. VAR has had a big call so far in this game, certainly in terms of a couple of key decisions. The first of those was the penalty. Stephen, it was a penalty, wasn't it?
Well, Alistair and I think Peter as well, didn't see it, and from where we were sitting, the angle it looked like it hit his chest. However, I've not seen the rerun, so I can't.
I beg your pardon. Sorry, I thought you guys had access. I thought.
I've seen it, Richard.
I'm sitting too far away from Martin Dowden's got a computer.
I never showed him it.
Right. Well, for those who haven't seen it, then I mean, essentially the ball. There's a challenge there. The ball falls towards Greg Taylor at fairly close range, but not only does it hit his outstretched arm, Peter, it kind of gathers under his arm almost at one point. I mean, the referee had no choice, did he?
No, when you look at it back, I think it's a penalty kick. Well, it is a penalty kick because not only that, it went through to Grieve, because Grieve was the other side of Starfield as well. So the pass was actually made in his direction, and Greg's hands up there. So yes, you'll give a penalty kick. The interesting one is the other one, because it starts outside the box, but I'm led to believe if you continue inside the box, then it should have been an ordering off and a penalty at the other side of the pitch. So, as I said, the two incidents have been slightly different. I think it's a definite penalty for St Mirren, and I thought it was a penalty kick for Celtic because the incident continued, but the referee changed it. Well, interestingly, he never went to the VAR.
No, he didn't, and that was interesting.
You know, that was interesting. He never went over to look at the VAR. You know,
so that being the case, then, and it's remind me who the VAR assistant, the VAR referee is. It is Al did mention. I can't remember. Andrew Dallas. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So Andrew Dallas is clearly 100% convinced in his mind, before he hasn't asked the referee to go across and have a look at that. I've got to say, my first reaction, and I think through the first couple of replays, was that has, and it is. You boys call it right. That there's a tug. It looks like it carries on. It certainly starts outside, no question about that.
Absolutely.
But it looks like it carries on into the box, and therefore a penalty. But I must admit, I then saw a couple of replays. You're looking across the line, and I think he might just let it go just before they get to the line. And that's clearly what I mean. That is pure luck rather than judgment, isn't it?
100%. He's no idea what he's doing at that stage.
Yeah. Or when he was making the pass back.
Well, no.
But that's clearly the call that Andrew Dallas has made. But wow, it's a huge call. It's a huge call, isn't it?
Massive, because at the end of the day, we said that Charles Dunn, he came in tight a few times, and we thought, don't be too erratic. And then if you play in the side of them and you keep coming in like that, there's a possibility of getting a free kick away. And he did. He gave a free kick 2 minutes prior, doing the same thing, coming in a bit rash. This time Kyogo was a wee bit more clever. He played on the outside of him, turned him. All of a sudden he's beyond him. And unfortunately he's left with one decision. Me personally, if it was a manager, I know the players don't think like that, I'd like him to get through and let the boy go and say, well, let the try and keeper have a save. Because you're losing a player, the keeper may still save it. So I'd be disappointed in what he's actually done and given. They're getting a red card, and obviously it was a penalty kick at first, but changed to a free kick. But I'd rather have the players still on the pitch, because it's going to make it really, really tough for them in the second half.
Right, so that's your thinking as a manager. And clearly, Peter, the quality player that you were, you would never have been so short with a pass back. But just try to imagine a scenario in which you had been. Would you be just as cool, calm and collected, or would your first thought would be, I'm taking him down?
No, I think you have to, because you've got to think like that as a player all the time, because there's situations, and that's why I hated sometimes the manager moving back to defence, because it was completely different from the middle of the pitch, where you were always competitive. When you knew as a defender, you had to stay on your feet, you had to make the right decisions, you couldn't go to ground, you couldn't be pulling or tugging. But in the middle of the field, you were always near enough against someone all the time. You're always sort of attacking or intercepting. At the back, that's when you've got to use your head. And he'd just been given, as I say, given the free kick on the other side of the pitch away, by coming in and been really tight on. And it was too tight, actually. He should just move his feet a little bit more. And that's what Kyogo is so clever. And Stephen was talking about it. Kyogo had hardly a touch, but his movement's terrific. He's not had a pass, because Celtic have been sort of slow with their passing in the final third, and St Mirren have defended that area very well. But Kyogo was cute enough to play on the outside of him, and that was the problem, because he still tried to come tight. Kyogo's went beyond him, and then you see what happened after that. And if I'm Stevie Robinson, that's what I'd be disappointed at.
Yeah, I mean, it was just terrible. I mean, it's just a complete lack of concentration, or lapse in concentration for the big central defender.
Yeah, but we've seen it. How many times have we seen it? A short pass back, and in those moments, once he does make the pass, you've not got time really to make make a decision. It's instinctive, I think, and I think he just grabbed him. He realises what he's done. He knew straight away. You could see he was lying on the ground. He was just waiting on the red card coming out. It does make things difficult and more difficult for St Mirren, but as I said during commentary, it doesn't really change the way that they're going to play. They've had that little of the ball since the opening 5 minutes. Offensively, that you're just expecting the same. So it'll be waves of attack from Celtic. They are the ones that the onus is on to try and find a way of breaking down St Mirren, because when they have put crosses into the box, St Mirren are very comfortable in terms of defending them because they're already set and they're already deep and they've got 5 across the box and they're all good headers of the ball. Celtic need to find a way to move them, and it's very difficult to do when a team are kind of sat back so deep. They've got to find ways of penetrating them, and that's when they've got the quality of player that they do. Celtic, that they did it a couple of times, the wee ball through the Jota strike, which was a phenomenal save from Trevor Carson.
Yes.
But out with that, I'm struggling to think maybe one or two other occasions have maybe kind of broken through St Mirren's back line. So it's up to Celtic. St Mirren will play exactly the same way, they'll defend exactly the same way, the players will run and knock their pan in. It's Celtic now that have got to come up with the ideas, and they do have players that are capable of doing it, but when you're out there and you're a defender and you love defending, St Mirren, they'll just do exactly what they've done in that first half, and they've done it very, very well.
I suppose the only difference is the player who suffers, I guess, is Curtis Main, because he's there having to do more of the closing down, they're kind of running back and forth. Essentially, for the rest of the players, the same balls are coming through, the same possession is going to be in front of them.
Yeah.
They've got the same job to do, don't they?
They do, yeah, and you're right to point out for Curtis it'll be difficult, but usually when you play against Celtic, or certainly most of the times that I played against Celtic, I was playing as a just one striker, as a main striker, and you're dealing with balls up to you that have got no quality on them, and you're having to fight and scrap, and hopefully you maybe manage to hold it up. The problem you've got is the rest of your team are so far detached from you, they're like 30 yards away from you, that you really have to hold on to the ball for about 6 seconds by the time they get up and catch you and you can lay it off. So you're fighting for scraps, trying to win throw-ins and getting up the pitch, but it's going to be 45 minutes of pure defending for St Mirren and concentration. It'll be fascinating to watch to see whether Celtic can break them down.
Well, they've got the players, Peter, haven't they? And they've got options, so many options. We talked about that earlier, so many options on the bench. I would imagine you guys are not going to have to worry too much about moving your neck back and forth in the second half. You're going to be looking pretty much in one direction.
They're actually going to make that. You're right, Rich. I think they're actually going to make that substitution. I'm sure Abada's going to come on, because I've seen him and he's been a wee bit more intense in his warm-up. And I think he's going to come on, and I could see that, because I didn't think Maida got much change in the first half, and even Jota had a couple of incidences obviously, but Abada's a goal threat, and Celtic are probably going to have to get something from the opposite side of the pitch, because right through the middle of the pitch, obviously that's where all the bodies are going to, you're going to have 9 people narrow for them, and the outball, as you say, Curtis Main. And if they keep playing up to Curtis in front, it was different with Stephen, because he's that target player taking the ball in with his chest and whatever. But like say Curtis, he'll want to run in behind you, and they'll just get further and further away, and that's the problem. Celtic will have so much ball, and I think they're just putting in another goal scorer, and as you say, the quality they have on the bench like Abada, and I think that's the substitution they're going to make right away. And to be fair to Ange Postecoglou, that's something he's done very, very well with substitutions. He knows when to make them. He sees this as a game they're going to have a lot of a ball, they need chances, and the only thing they'd be disappointed in the first half, he's nowhere near worked the goalkeeper enough. They've not got in the back line enough, and they've had really good opportunities to get early crosses in, and a couple of times they did get the early crosses in. St Mirren didn't deal with them very well, actually. So it'll be interesting watching the second half if they, like say, Owen that come on and have that power. Will they go with 2 strikers that sometimes he's done with keeping Kyogo on and play him and O together, which we've not really seen? So will they maybe go something like that as well? So that'll be interesting to see what tactic the manager uses in this period.
Charles Dunn has been sent off. Mark O'Hara has scored from the spot. Half-time in Paisley. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
The Six Nations on the BBC.
Trying to spread the ball wide, and it's taken on this time. Scotland are in. It's Jones who's over.
Scotland,
England,
France,
Wales,
Italy,
Ireland.
We are Six Nations.
And Russell is over, surrounded by Scottish jerseys, and how he must enjoy this moment.
Scotland versus Ireland.
We're still in the championship. We're both playing for the Triple Crown. Ireland has still got the Grand Slam. That'll be huge motivation for us.
Next Sunday afternoon, watch on iPlayer, listen on your digital radio, or ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Scotland Extra.
So the rugby back next weekend. Plenty of football, of course, as ever. Remember the highlights tonight on Sports Scene. If you didn't catch last night's programme, well, Tom will be devastated, but if you didn't catch it, you will be able to catch up on the action from yesterday tonight as well. And extended highlights from the game in Paisley, where Celtic are trailing by 1-0. Off the ball coming up after us between 3 and 5. So plenty to keep you occupied, entertained throughout the course of the remainder of this Sunday. And do remember that on Wednesday night we've got 3 cracking games for you. Celtic against Hearts, Hibernian against Rangers, Livingston against Dundee United, with highlights later at 11:25 on BBC One. So it's a busy midweek ahead. That just scratches the surface in terms of the football coverage we'll be bringing you over the next little while, and of course right the way through between now and the end of this incredible season. Right now, Celtic would be just 6 points clear with 11 games to go, and right now St Mirren would be back up into 5th. In fact, even a draw would take them above Aberdeen on goal difference, but a win certainly would give them leeway and get them up level with Hibernian on 40 points. It is going to be a demanding 45 minutes ahead, you feel, for Stephen Robinson's team. But the one thing they have shown us throughout this campaign, Tom, is they're well drilled, they're well organised. Yes, they've had a couple of beatings, and Celtic have certainly beaten them heavily in the last couple of games, but generally speaking, they don't concede too many.
No, they don't. They get the 3rd best goals against in the league, and they enjoy these challenges. I really do think that. I think they enjoy defending. The thing is just the concentration. You've got to have such, and you look at Charles Dunn, 1 second of kind of lapse of concentration, he's off the pitch, and St Mirren really need to make sure that is the key thing. They're not going to have the ball. They're going to have to work ever so hard off the ball in their shape, but it's concentration that's going to get them through this. I'm just trying to see if Celtic have made a change or not, but you can let Al do that, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll give him as much work as we possibly can. Just as they were running through a few pictures there on the screen, one thing struck me. I'm actually amazed that David Dickinson didn't give that St Mirren penalty himself. He's such a clear view of what happened. I hadn't realised how unobstructed he was. But anyway, it went to VAR. It was awarded. It was scored. And although they're down to 10 men, they do still have that advantage. What a long second half it could be, though. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0. Commentary here on Sports Sound and BBC Radio Scotland with Peter Grant, Stephen Thompson, and the man who'll be across all the substitutions, Al Lamont.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Yeah, Peter called it correctly. It's Leela Bada on for Dyson Maida at the start of this second period. St Mirren prepared to get us underway. It's the man who's made the difference in terms of the score sheet so far, Mark O'Hara, who will kick us off, and he goes back to Richard Taylor. His attempted ball forward is quickly closed down by Kyogo, so quick off the mark, the Japanese striker, and it's already back in Celtic's possession, and you would imagine that will be the case for the vast majority of this second period as they search for not only an equaliser but indeed a winner at some stage over the course of the second period. It's Abada getting on the ball for the first time on the right hand side as Celtic go from left to right in this second period, kicking towards their fans or behind Trevor Carson's goal. Taylor gets the ball out of the penalty area for St Mirren, but it's Starfelt coming forward out to the left hand side for Jota, who started out on the left again at the start of this second half. He finished the first half there, having begun the game on the right hand side, and Abada is on the right flank for Celtic. It's Hatate with possession and plays it to Cameron Carter-Vickers. It's an unenviable task for Curtis Main up there in the second period. Abada puts a ball into the 6-yard box, but it's easily taken by Trevor Carson, and no Celtic player able to make inroads in there.
Surprised nobody made a front post run.
Absolutely.
To be honest with you, you see that Abada's going to be putting the ball in. You're expecting it to come in. There's 3 in there. Somebody's got to go across the front.
Cleared by Carson up towards the halfway line. McGregor touches it down to Taylor. Away by Fraser, and not forward but all the way through to Trevor Carson, who first time knocks it back up to the halfway line, giving Main something to battle for, and he gets it back to Kiltie, but Kiltie's lost out. Hatate, and then Fraser steps in. Fraser's had a good game so far. He'll need to do so for the next 40 odd minutes as well. is to preserve the advantage. Here comes Abada, right-hand side, but he miscues his attempted cross, slices it into the Celtic crowd behind Trevor Carson's goal for a goal kick to the home side. And with 2 minutes on the clock in the second period, it's still St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
That's it with the one, Alistair, that I wonder if Celtic tactically should do something different, because the two fullbacks keep getting inside and they're filling the areas. And there's a lot of St Mirren players in there. Whether he says to the fullbacks to come and be overlappers, to like say Abada, who are stretching them, to create that space and let Moy run that space in between, and the likes of Hatate. Because St Mirren, there's so many bodies in there, that's where you'd probably find the space would be.
As Richard said, victory for St Mirren this afternoon would take them level with fourth place Hibernian. The last finished in the top 6 in 1985.
All right,
Well, it just shows you the magnitude of what they are currently on course to achieve, is the point I was making.
It does, and this would be a phenomenal result for them. You know, the games are running out, and obviously Aberdeen have got a wee head of steam up now, so it's going to be very competitive. Livingston in there as well, and this race to see who finishes in the top 6.
Yeah, and you wouldn't count them out of a chance of finishing in one of the European qualification places in their last in Europe in 87-88, having won the Scottish Cup in 1987, taking their place in the Cup Winners' Cup that season.
Who did they play, do you remember?
Hammarby?
Wrong.
No? Okay.
You can work on it.
Here's Abada. I've got other things to do. Here's Johnston. Right-hand side, blocked by Small. Johnston picks up once more. Carter Vickers. Infield to Greg Taylor. Midway inside the St Mirren half. Out to Jota, left-hand side. Takes on Strain, cutting in from the left onto the right foot. Plays a low ball in, looking for Greg Taylor. St Mirren able to block that off, and forward comes Strain down the right hand side, looking to relieve a bit of pressure. Hatate's though able to step in and win the ball back for Celtic. What St Mirren have to try and do, and I know it's really difficult, but they have to try and hold on to possession when they get it for as long as possible. But here's Abada, right hand side, attacking O'Hara just outside the penalty area, nudges it back to McGregor. McGregor plays it short to Carter Vickers, who just touches it off for McGregor once more, and now it's Starfelt midway inside the St Mirren half, out to the left hand side. Jota takes a bad touch and it just rolls over his foot and out for a throw-in over on the far side with 4.5 minutes of the second half played. St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
But that's exactly what I said there. For Greg Taylor, lost possession. Because there's so many bodies in there, it makes it easier for the midfielders to go and engage him. Whereas if he's in the wider area, it gives him a bigger problem. It just spreads them and it allows the spaces for the other midfield players to run into. But at this moment in time, I think the full-backs are actually clogging that area.
Free kick's gone Celtic's way, much to the annoyance of the home fans. There's a coming together across there between Taylor and Main by the looks of it. And Main is the one who's penalised. Are you going to tell me who St Mirren played in that Cup Winners' Cup run?
Mechelen.
Mechelen of Belgium.
Indeed.
No, forgotten that one. Here's Abada, right hand side. Up towards the edge of the penalty area he comes. O'Hara's with him. Johnston on the overlap, tries to get the cross in. O'Hara's across to him to block it. Abada picks up once more. Right hand side still for Celtic. Back to Johnston. Johnston goes back to Carter Vickers. His pass is a little bit off though, and Carter Vickers has to go back into his own half to retrieve, with Main looking to close him down. Starfelt gets it to Taylor. Taylor back to the Swedish centre back. Shot for McGregor. McGregor for Johnston, about 25 yards from goal. Abada's outside of him. It's Abada who picks up, running it small. Ball into the box isn't good enough from Abada. It's cleared away by Bacchus. It's already backs to the wall for St Mirren in the outset of this second period, as it will probably continue to be, as Starfelt plays it out to Jota, left hand side for the visitors. Starfelt once more will play it square to Carter Vickers, midway inside the St Mirren half, out to the right hand side for Abada, who's already seen plenty of the ball. Moy comes outside of him, but he goes into the box for Hatate, well won by Richard Taylor, and just hacked away by Bacchus once more up to the halfway line. But even Curtis Main, Tomo, is a good, at best, at furthest up he's getting is pretty much midway inside his own half.
There's probably no point in him being up there stretching the game. He can drop in and have an effect in the midfield if he just gets in touch with Cal McGregor.
That's great defence from Marcus Fraser. The Celtic fans aren't happy, but I mean, it was terrific work from Fraser to get back at, I think it was Jota up there, and St Mirren will get the throw in the end, but that just looked like good defending to me, Peter.
Yeah, it was. It was strong defenders by Fraser. There was no free kick. And to be fair to St Mirren, they've been very dogged in that respect. And Tom was right. You're talking about Curtis Main. Stevie's actually told him to drop on the back of Callum McGregor and play there. So Starfelt and that can have the ball all day. And that's why I think the width's going to be so important. You know, and I just think we're too narrow at this moment in time if you're trying to get through the areas. And St Mirren have done it fantastically well. They've plugged the gaps. And listen, they don't concede many goals anyway, so their game doesn't really change. Their outball changes, but their game against the ball doesn't really change.
St Mirren have never won back-to-back home league games against Celtic, but they are currently on course to do so. Long way to go in this second period. 1-0 the lead thanks to Mark O'Hara's early penalty. Here's Abada just outside the St Mirren box. It's McGregor now taking over, feigns to cross on the right foot, comes back onto the left and plays it to Greg Taylor, about 30 yards from goal. Now it's Jota forced back the way by some determined St Mirren defending. Still Jota has it, comes from left to right. Curtis Main now the latest St Mirren player to close him down. Jota looking for options, but has to go back the way to Johnston now for Carter Vickers. McGregor takes over once more for Celtic, looking to pull the strings and find the gaps, and it's Taylor now hoists it into the back post area, but there's no Celtic player waiting, far too close to Trevor Carson, who comfortably takes that one. And with 53.5 minutes played at the Smythe Stadium, it's still St Mirren 1, Celtic 0.
It's exactly what St Mirren want. They're forcing Celtic to play in front of them. They eventually get frustrated there, and Taylor just hoists one into the box high, which you would guess the St Mirren centre-halves would deal with, but the goalkeeper comes out and deals with it himself.
You can see Jota get disappointed because Abada ran inside. There's his first time, there's his opportunity.
It's Abada into the penalty area. It's not behind for a corner. I think it was small. He got the touch to knock it behind, and Aaron Moy will come out to this right-hand side to take the corner, urged on by the fans behind that goal. Moy to take this one, right-hand side, right-footed, as Celtic still look for an equaliser, and it comes to the edge of the 6-yard box. Small gets first to it. Hatate got a touch to it. Was he using the hand there? That was a claim from St Mirren, but David Dickinson was in a good position and didn't see anything wrong, and Celtic recycle it out to the right-hand side, and it's Moy once more, reverse pass disguised, and Johnston picks up. Blocked by O'Hara, his attempted cross comes back to Johnston, gets the cross in, second time around, headed away by Fraser. Back to Johnston once more, right-hand side for St Mirren, just a few yards from the goal line. Now it's a bad edge of the penalty area. Nudges it back for Kyogo. Kyogo trying to get past Bacchus, can't do so, but it'll break to Hatate, left-hand side of the box. Plays it back in for Kyogo. Kyogo out to the left-hand side for Greg Taylor. Taylor tries to get the cross in, blocked by Fraser. St Mirren defending doggedly right now as Carter Vickers plays it out to Johnston. Johnston for Abada. Abada to Moy inside the box. It must be this time, is it? Jota's there, surely. It's in! And Jota claims the equaliser. St Mirren couldn't clear it that time round, and Jota claims the leveller. It's St Mirren 1, Celtic 1.
Well, exactly what you said. Get the ball wide, get the ball across. That's the problem you've got. If you keep going through the middle all the time, there's too many bodies. Get it wide, get the crosses in, and it causes panic. I'm not sure who got the final touch to knock it over the line, but they're giving it to Jota, but I'm not so sure because Kyogo was running the way as typical strikers do.
The ball in was extremely dangerous, and at this time Celtic did have two players there. It was hard to see who did get the final touch. I think it was Jota, but yeah, I mean, it's first goal for Ange Postecoglou here in Paisley, and it's going to be a long, what have we got left? 35 minutes.
Yeah, there's a quick check there, as there is for every goal, of course, now under VAR, but it's awarded, there was nothing wrong with it, and sounds like it was Jota's goal. He was certainly the man who was celebrating most vociferously, and he now has 10 for the season, Jota, and he's drawn Celtic level, and they will not be stopping there. They'll be looking for a winner against 10-man St Mirren, who have defended well throughout, but Finally, the rear guard was pierced. Here's O'Hara. St Mirren make a rear 40 forward. Strain forced to stretch for the ball. Keeps it in, but can't keep a hold of it. And Celtic have it back deep in their own territory. It's Greg Taylor for Callum McGregor. And sure there weren't too many nerves in Celtic colours, despite the fact they were trailing by a goal to nil, but any there will have been diminished certainly by that leveller. And here they come, looking for a second in a quick-fire fashion as Abada picks up once more right hand side. It was his ball into the box that caused the consternation and led to the goal. And he gets it back from McGregor. Forward for Moy. Moy not quite able to hold on to it under pressure from Richard Taylor, and then Small plays it for Bacchus. Bacchus knocks it off McGregor, and it'll be a St Mirren throw-in. And St Mirren would bite your hand off for a point right now.
Certainly would, Al.
And still in no hurry to take throw-ins and set pieces when they come their way. David Dickinson asking Richard Taylor just to get on with it. 1-1 it stands then in Paisley. Celtic have dropped points just twice this season. Once here when they were beaten, and once at Ibrox in that 2-2 draw. Otherwise, they have been pretty much perfect. And they will not want to ship even a couple of points this afternoon, as St Mirren do come forward again down the right-hand side through Strain. Jota, the Celtic goal scorer, with him. Strain comes back to Fraser. And it wasn't Celtic's most beautiful goal of the season, Peter, but at that stage they'll certainly take what comes their way.
Exactly, Alistair. We said that's probably the areas of the pitch that they're going to be vulnerable, St Mirren. And listen, they've worked exceptionally hard to defend their goal, but it's difficult when you've got the quality and it's relentless. It's coming at you all the time, and they've got so many goal-scoring. They've got goal-scoring midfielders. They've got a lot of goals up the front line, and they've got quality that can pick a pass in the middle of the pitch, and that's very difficult to defend. I don't know even if Curtis Main should just drop in there and say, well, OK, we'll just leave it there. Leave Carter Vickers and Starfelt with it, because as soon as he goes to press, it leaves them vulnerable, because McGregor's free then. And then that's that next pass then, it's getting in behind the back line now.
Here's Abada, right-hand side for Celtic, looking to take on Small. Small stands up, forces Abada back the way to McGregor, who gets the pass off to Starfelt as he's closed down by Main. Starfelt midway inside the St Mirren half to the left-hand side for Taylor, and now Jota. Jota looking to take on Strain. He goes down, he gets the free kick, which gives us a quick opportunity to speak to Martin Dowden, who's watched a couple of replays of the Celtic goal just to clear up any confusion over the goal scorer.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely Jota's goal. I think what's particularly interesting about it is the invention. He's practically lying on the ground as he kicks it towards that far post. He finds a perfect angle, but it's a really good finish considering where he is when he hits it.
Thanks, Martin. Aaron Moy standing over the free kick just outside the penalty area, left-hand side of it, as Moy looks to conjure up something else for Celtic. Back post ball, it's in! Alistair Johnston's forced it home, and Celtic have turned it round at the start of this second period. Moy with the back post delivery, Johnston climbed highest, into the back of the net it goes for his first goal in Celtic colours. It's St Mirren 1, Celtic 2.
Well, he wanted it the most, that's what I'd say, against O'Hara. You'd be expecting O'Hara to defend it well, good size as well, but Johnston made sure it was his, and they say rightfully got the goal.
The delivery's fantastic from Aaron Moy, but you're right, Mark O'Hara's got to do so much better at that back post. He was out-muscled by Johnson, who definitely wanted it more, and I don't know how much of a clean contact he got on it, but it found its way into the top corner, and you pretty much say that's game over.
It's interesting, like, you're looking at Marcus Fraser on that, they're complaining about the free kick it was given. I didn't really see it myself over the far side that led to the goal for Moyes, but great delivery. But Marcus Fraser's not happy, he's having the right go at the referee about the free kick.
St Mirren are going to make a couple of changes. Johnston's header comes off O'Hara's shoulder on its way in, but I don't think there's any doubt it goes down as an Alistair Johnston goal. I'm sure he won't want it taken away from him, as St Mirren make a couple of changes. Small comes off to be replaced by Joe Shaughnessy. Looks like they're going to go 4 at the back.
Yeah.
I think that was the signs that would be made from Stephen Robinson. And Tony Watt, the former Celtic player, will also come on for the closing half an hour. And so they look to try and get something from the game, and it's Strain who's going to off on the far side as Tony Watt comes on, and they are going to have to change shape if they're to take anything from the game and look to become a bit more of an attacking force in this second period. Play resumes. Celtic back in the ascendancy after those two quick goals within 5 minutes of each other. Jota and then Johnston at the start of the second period. And well, we always knew it was going to be really tough for St Mirren to hold on to the 1-goal advantage with just the 10 men, and so it has proved.
It's interesting he's moved Taylor to left back. It doesn't look like a left back to me, you know, and I thought young Small was doing very well actually. So it's interesting he's done this one.
Yeah, Richard Taylor can play left back, but you're right, Small had such a good game. Maybe just the hour and a bit of such hard work has taken it out of him, and Richard Taylor on as a late first half sub. Of course, here's Shaughnessy's throw in, flicked on there by Gogic. Breaks out the penalty area for Bacchus, and then Fraser gets it back out to Shaughnessy, right hand side. He flips it back in towards the edge of the box. Starfelt gets the header clear. Abada's nipped that before Bacchus, and Abada over the halfway line on the counter. Plays in Jota. Good first touch from Jota. Second touch sets it up for the shot. Comes across goal. Kyogo! He can't turn it in. Moy still in play, and it's back for Abada, and it's off the line from Taylor. My goodness. And the referee has stopped play. There's a St Mirren player down in the line. Looks like Marcus Fraser.
I think he's running at the post.
Yeah,
actually.
he has.
I think he's running at the post and he's clearing the one off the line. But what an opportunity. A fantastic counter-attack. And you just expect the ball to be in the back of the net. Kyogo is really disappointed. But what an opportunity.
It was a fantastic counter-attack, you're right. The speed at which they broke was incredible, and Jota takes a good first touch. You'd expect him to just put his foot through it. He goes for the wee dink, which eventually comes to Kyogo. He kind of hits his first attempt, and then he's lying on the ground. He tries to get it in again, and then Marcus Fraser clattered into the post trying to block it. It comes back out. The next shot you think is going to go in the bottom corner from about 5 yards. It's cleared off the line. It was chaos for about 10 seconds, but just hope Marcus Fraser's okay here, because he certainly clattered the post.
Well, Celtic so close to a third goal, which would surely kill 10-man St Mirren off, as Celtic make another change, and it will be Matt O'Reilly to replace Rio Hatate for the closing 25 minutes of this game. Marcus Fraser being helped to his feet there by the St Mirren physios. Brave defending certainly, and I mean, it looked for all the world like it was going to be turned into the net. Both Kyogo and Abada denied. O is also going to come on for the last quarter, more or less, of this game. And it's Kyogo who's going to be replaced. Denied a goal there, and he won't have his 20th league goal of the season this afternoon. But you can be sure it'll come sooner rather than later.
Well, I thought Hatate in the first half was Celtic shining light, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought he was the one that was getting on the ball and trying to make things happen. He had a wonderful effort off the bar. It was just a wonderful season. But Matt O'Reilly come on and, as I said, doesn't diminish the quality in the middle of the pitch. And then you've got all up front. I've been impressed with him so far. You know, he lets people know he's on the football pitch. Centre half, don't know where to look with him. He barges him about properly. Proper replacement for Giakoumakis, actually, because I was worried about that. They never had someone similar.
St Mirren come forward down the right hand side, and it's Kiltie picking up. Kiltie into the penalty area. It's over Main. It's headed away by Johnston, the man whose goal has put Celtic in front. Gogic knocks O off the ball and wins it cleanly. It's Kiltie, right hand side of the penalty area, tries to get it into the box, comes off Taylor, back to Kiltie. This time he sends it in. Main challenges. Looked like he was fouling a Celtic defender there, but it breaks the way of Aaron Moy. In any case, and play continues. Just over a quarter of the game to go, and it's Celtic now who lead by 2-1, and it's O'Reilly out to Jota. Jota flips it to the back post. Richard Taylor's there to head it clear on the edge of the 6-yard box, and there's a foul by Moy on O'Hara, and it will be a St Mirren free kick just outside their own penalty area. St Mirren 1, Celtic 2.
It's a lot more open now since St Mirren changed their shape. They're obviously having to go for it, and hats off to them for doing that, down to 10 men, but it's leaving them a bit more exploited. And when Celtic do win the ball back now, they're able to find the spaces that they were unable to do when St Mirren had the back five.
You know what it's like, Tom, when you've got forward players in that midfield area, they all run forward, and it's only Bacchus, and I'd still say, because him and O'Hara in there, and you still say they've got their attacking mind in them.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden at the side of them, you're getting lots of space, and with the quality of O'Reilly and all that, the passes, they're not missing a pass now. So it's going to be a long finish to the game for St Mirren, I think.
Ball's hoisted into the Celtic penalty. Starfelt lets it bounce. Off his line comes Joe Hart before Tony Watt can make anything of it, and immediately throws it out over arm to Abada. Israeli coming forward and finds O just outside the penalty area, trying to spin away from the St Mirren substitute Joe Shaughnessy, who now has the armband having come on. Taken over from Mark O'Hara, who opened the scoring from the spot but was beaten in the jump by Alistair Johnston, the Canadian fullback for Celtic, to put Celtic ahead. 2-1, the league leaders and champions lead, and they've done what true champions do, responded to adversity. As the ball's fired in from the left-hand side for Celtic, but it's straight into the arms of Trevor Carson. 22 minutes left, and St Mirren now having led at half-time, trail by 2-1. Carson thumps it over the halfway line. Watt can't get onto it. Starfelt heads it down. O'Hara looking to find Kilty just a couple of yards too heavy with the pass, and it's out for a throw over on the far side for Celtic. Taken by Taylor for McGregor, and now back with Starfelt just outside his own penalty area. Carter Vickers now. Those two looking to continue that phenomenal record of never having lost when they've partnered each other at the back in a domestic game for Celtic, as Taylor plays it forward for O'Reilly and out to the left-hand side for Jota. Jota slides it once more for O'Reilly into the 6-yard box. It's can't bring it under control or find a teammate. Shaughnessy's clearance though is semi-blocked. It'll come for Johnston at the edge of the box. Thought about the shot, I think, then just lays it off for Abada. Now it's right-hand side with Moy. Abada once more inside the box, makes room for the shot, scores! Abada, what an impact he's made off the bench, involved in the opening goal for Celtic, and there he is notching the third. Just found a bit of room inside the St Mirren penalty area and lashed it low to the right of Trevor Carson to make it St Mirren 1, Celtic 3.
I just told you the quality they've got. They just, the 1v1s, Abada's finishing. He had an opportunity prior to it, but it just shows you they brought on O'Reilly, they brought on Olwo, they brought on Abada, all these boys, and that shows you the quality, the difference between the rest of the teams, I feel, in the championship at this minute in time. Who's going for it? Celtic, when they're out the game, they make the changes at the right time, and all of a sudden they've sparked it. It's difficult for St Mirren, we understand that, with a man down. Stevie's tried to be a wee bit more positive, and to be perfectly honest, it could end up anything now.
Yeah, 3-1 Celtic as they replace Jota with Haksabanovic for the closing 20 minutes. But it's interesting, Ange Postecoglou was saying in his pre-match interview with Martin there that people obsess about his starting 11. It's not so much for him about that. It's almost, with the 5 substitutes you're allowed to make now, it's almost getting towards the stage of rugby where they talk about having finishers, and it's guys who can come on like Abada and make an impact as he has done this afternoon.
Absolutely, but you can right through every game you watch, when they're not playing particularly well, they're game changers, and that's at the moment. But the quality doesn't diminish, the pace doesn't diminish. If anything, it lifts again, and it sparks everybody else on the football pitch. And you can see the ones that's already been on the pitch, they're still doing things quickly, they're still getting to players, closing the opposition down quickly. And that tells you the standards that they're setting themselves. And the manager can tell you what to do, but it's the players on the pitch who've got to put that into practice. And they've done that fantastically well, and great credit to them.
You can see Martin making a note of that little comment, and he's going to ask Ange Postecoglou about it again at the end. He likes my little tips. Here comes Celtic again, looking for further goals. They scored 5 last time against Celtic, against St Mirren. in the Scottish Cup. They scored 4 in the home league game. Here's Abada. In for O'Reilly. It's in. Abada again, the creator, and O'Reilly with a second goal of the season. And Celtic threatening to run riot in this second half. They have turned it right round, trailing by 1-0 with just 6 minutes on the clock, and they now lead by 4 goals to 1, all 4 coming in the second half. And Matt O'Reilly, who notched his first goal of the season in that 5-1 Scottish Cup victory just a couple of weeks ago, is on the score sheet again. It's St Mirren 1, Celtic 4.
It's Abada again who's at the heart of it. He really has been sensational since he came on at half-time. He made such a difference to them down this right-hand side. Again, finds himself in decent space. He could take the shot on, but flicks it into the middle of the box, and there was Matt O'Reilly to sweep it past Trevor Carson. And, you know, that's the gamble you take, and you've got to give credit to Stephen Robinson for having the gamble at 2-1 to go for it, rather than just try and sit and accept defeat. But, you know, with Celtic, when they do have space and time and they can open you up, they're devastating.
I think we said it before the game, the manager makes the right call at the right time. At half-time, they knew it wasn't going as well as it did. He takes Maeda off, he puts Abada on, and everything's changed. Everything's changed, you know, and that's the quality. We know they're sending off in the first half, obviously hinders St Mirren. But Celtic have got that quality, as we keep saying. And as you say, they've just got to dig in now. You know, they've changed, as you say, Stephen Robinson's had to change it, and that's left them wide open. Now the taste of Celtic and the quality that Celtic have in that final third, you're seeing it now.
Aaron Moy is going to be replaced here by Iwata for Celtic, and St Mirren are going to bring on Fraser Taylor and Scott Tanser for the closing 17 minutes or so. Yeah, I mean, Celtic are just absolutely ruthless in this second period. Pre-match, they were 10 points better off in the same stage last season, but more than that, Peter, they actually scored 25 goals more than they had after the same amount of games this season. They've scored another 4 in this second half, and they've got just so many threats going forward.
Well, that's what we said. You look at his team, the manager's team, the goalkeeper and the back 4 and Callum McGregor very rarely change. But anything he mixes beyond that, the next 5 players, anything he mixes all affect the game. And I think that's so important. Whether it's Jota, Wade, Hadsabanovic, Abada, it doesn't matter. They all affect the game and bring goals to it. Striker, I'd like to see him getting goals, because that's what he's brought here to do as a striker. So once he gets fitter, I'm sure he'll get goals. But he's brought somebody in to replace Giakoumakis, who's done exceptionally well for Celtic. So he's constantly on the move, himself, trying to refresh the team and refresh the players in the training ground, which, as I said to you, look at the substitutes they have. Imagine having a V11 at that training ground. Must be the most competitive game of the season.
It's a tough watch for the St Mirren fans now, Stephen.
Yeah, it is. But I think they'll appreciate the work that was put in, certainly in the first half, and they understand down to 10 men against Celtic, it's always going to be a very difficult task.
Yeah, as soon as the equaliser went in, you kind of felt there would be further goals, and so it has proved. And Abada again threading into the penalty area, and Johnston just failing to link with O'Reilly, who went for a long period there without scoring this season. Now he's got a couple against St Mirren in the matter of 2 or 3 weeks.
We're also saying, Alistair, Stevie's preparation for this game has been excellent. You can see the shape his team he had.
Here's inside the penalty. Was he nudged there by Gogic? The Celtic fans claiming for it. Himself looks at the referee as if to say, is there nothing in that? But nothing given, certainly.
Well, for a big guy, went down quite easily. I mean, Gogic runs the risk making the challenge, but for me, I don't think it was a penalty.
Well, you said the one the first half, Stephen, over the far side. It was a free kick. Remember, the ball booked on the back. We didn't think. It was very similar. And I think that's why people get frustrated, because it was the exact same over the opposite side in the first half, and he gave a free kick, you know. And then, obviously, it happens in the box and they don't give it. And I think that's where people get frustrated with the referees.
Celtic have it on the halfway line. And you can be sure that they won't necessarily want to stop at 4 if Ange Postecoglou's mantra is anything to go by.
I think he'd be desperate for O to get a goal. I think that's what he'd be looking for. If he could take something else out of the game, that'd probably be hit.
He did score against St Mirren in the 5-1 as well. That's his only Celtic goal so far. Came in the Scottish Cup, looking for his first Premiership goal this afternoon. As Celtic continue to move the ball quickly. Haksabanovic puts too much in the pass though for Taylor, and it's behind for a St Mirren goal kick, and it's a very different complexion in this game in the second period. And St Mirren having led from early on, but having the man dismissed just before half-time in Charles Dunn. And although Celtic didn't get the penalty they initially thought they had in this second half, they have really shown why they are top of the tree once again, and they will move back to 9 points clear of Rangers, and surely a step closer to another Premiership title.
As we said, Alistair, Stevie Robinson's preparation has been excellent, and you can see that when he had all the players on the pitch, made it difficult. You can see why they've not conceded a lot of goals, but then that's that discipline and concentration that Tomo was speaking about early in the first half, that you've got to have that for the full 95 minutes, whatever the game lasts, because if you don't, this is what ends up happening.
Celtic have it through Greg Taylor with 12.5 minutes of the 90 left to play. 4-1 advantage for the visitors, coming from behind, and a lot of it's to do with this man in possession right now, Leo Labada, who's had a real impact since coming on at half-time. On the score sheet himself, created a couple, including the leveller. Here he is once more up against Tanser. Abada took a late one there from Tanser, who gets the pass off to Haksabanovic, who tries to find room for the shot, eventually does. It's blocked, then O goes down. What's the decision this time? Corner kick, says David Dickinson, the referee. O is adamant he should be getting a spot kick there as he hit the deck, and again it will be checked, of course, and the referee just motions for a delay here while it is checked by Andrew Dallas in the VAR room. First thoughts on that one, Peter?
I found it strange he never get the shot away. That's the only thing that was surprising me, because I thought the ball had broken to him. Yeah, he's complaining his shirt was pulled. I don't know if that's what stopped him from getting the strike away, but I definitely thought he was just going to pull the trigger.
He certainly fell theatrically.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering whether or not they're going to... Is they waiting on a VAR check just now?
Yeah, they definitely are, yeah.
Must be something.
If it's a sharp pull in the box, it'll be a pen. You can guarantee that.
Well, the signs up on the big screen, VAR check ongoing, and Celtic could get the opportunity to add even further to their advantage.
Oh, here he comes.
Yeah, he's going to come across and have a look at it, and invariably that does mean that the initial decision will be changed, and Matt O'Reilly's so confident it's going to be changed that he's taking the ball from the corner across to the penalty spot, and
he's given it to
O, yeah, as David Dickinson again comes across and has a look at the claim from O. It does sound like from what we're hearing that the shirt was pulled inside the penalty area. Martin, you seen it back?
Yeah, there is a definite pull. Alex Gogic is very tight too.
Yeah, he's given it.
It is small, but it is a tug.
Penalties awarded, and it will be a chance for O to grab his first league goal for Celtic from 12 yards. As Celtic have a chance to make it 5-1, as it was in the Scottish Cup in February. And South Korean, as Mark O'Hara did in the first half, will have the chance to score. Trevor Carson bouncing on his line, up steps O, and it's right under Trevor Carson and into the back of the net. The keeper will feel he should have kept that one out. He guessed correctly, but it somehow slipped underneath him, and O does have his first Celtic league goal. Celtic have 5 in Paisley. It's St Mirren 1, Celtic 5.
Perfect afternoon for the manager. O getting his goal, whether it's a penalty, whether it's under Trevor Carson's body, it's a goal. He's got his name, and Tom will tell you about any strikers, they want to score goals, get their name on the score sheet no matter how you do it. But yeah, again, the interesting thing for me is how the referees went to VAR this time. And we talked about the first half, about the penalty it wasn't given and the order off. So why has he come over for this one? I don't know. And that's where the rules for me are all mixed up.
Well, my understanding, Peter, and I'm willing to be corrected on this, but certainly if there's anything subjective about it, then the referee should come and look at the screen. So clearly Andrew Dallas at the VAR has seen something, and he recommends that David Dickinson have another look at it himself. So it's subjective as to whether that is a penalty.
Yes.
Now, you could argue that something being in or out of the box is objective.
Yes.
So that would be the rationale for me for David Dickinson not coming to look at that. If Andrew Dallas says 100% that it's outside the penalty area in the first period, then I guess that would be why he doesn't need to come and look at the monitor.
You've explained that well, Alistair.
Okay, thanks.
Explained that well.
You could still say that, you know, because Richard was saying at half-time he thought that probably the shirt was just let go at the edge. But you could also say that that's kind of subjective, you know, because different people have different opinions on at what point that is being let go. So anyway, yes, so it's kind of immaterial now at 5-1.
You've taken it too far.
Sorry, Hast.
Here comes Celtic once more, looking for further goals. In their relentless pursuit of perfection. Here's Taylor, slides it into the penalty area. Goes down again. Again, it's Gogic who's involved, and Gogic has a word in his ear and says, come on, you've already had one. But it looked like there might have been a little bit of contact. Again, it will be double checked by VAR. Abada picks up, it might be rendered meaningless anyway if Celtic can score, but it's out of the penalty area now, and it's with Carter Vickers. So we've got 7 minutes left here. Celtic leading by 5-1.
It wasn't the best penalty from O, to be honest with you. I mean, Carson goes the right way. It's not in the corner, but it just sneaks under Trevor Carson's body. I suppose he's not bothered how it goes in.
Yeah, it's always a good one if it goes in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Here's Iwata into Johnston. Haksabanovic. Taylor intercepts, but it falls back to Haksabanovic. Across the penalty area it comes, and Fraser Taylor. Too many Taylors in the park now for my liking. He hacks it out of the penalty area. And Joe Hart comes out his box. I mean, he's been a total spectator, you'd have to say, in this second half.
And the first.
Yeah, for most of the first, actually. As O'Reilly runs it out of play on this near side of St Mirren, throw in to be taken by Richard Taylor. What does Stephen Robinson take from this game? Does he just like dismiss everything that happened pretty much in the second period, or are there still things he would want to do better?
I think he's got to look at what they did early in the game. You know, I think their shape, their organisation, what they tried to do before the player gets sent off, everything was excellent. And his part, they can do that exceptionally well and still lose 5 to Celtic, because Celtic are that so far ahead of everyone else. You've just got to make it difficult for them to score, and they did that in the period with all the players on the pitch. That's why I was so disappointed with Dunn's reaction, or his bad play, really, to be perfectly honest with you, and it's cost them dearly. But Celtic still could have run out comfortable winners because of the quality that they have.
It could be even more comfortable by the close of play. 5 left, and Celtic still attacking, this time down the right hand side. Johnston for Carter Vickers, back with O'Reilly now at the edge of the penalty, plays in Johnston, he's in, sliding in there went Alex Gogic to block the cross as Celtic went in pursuit of a 6th goal. It was a good bit of defending in the end from Gogic. Celtic come again, it's Greg Taylor forward for O, back with Haksabanovic. Looking for the run of McGregor in for O'Reilly, just tries to flick it into the path of O inside the penalty area with his back to goal. Haksabanovic once more, looked like he wanted to try and curl that towards the top corner, and instead he plays it short to Taylor, back with Haksabanovic once more, again looking to find room for the shot. Iwata plays it short to McGregor, left hand side it's Greg Taylor, crosses semi-blocked into the arms of Trevor Carson, and with 85 on the clock it's St Mirren 1, Celtic 5.
I think Haksabanovic should have had a shot. Twice he chopped back onto his left foot and it was opening up on his right just to have a pop, but I suppose it's kind of so easy for them now that they're almost kind of showboating when they get into the final third.
This will be the 18th victory of 19 that Celtic have played since the 5-1 defeat in the Bernabeu. The only time they've not won in that period was that draw with Rangers at Ibrox. They're unbeaten now in 25 domestically since the loss to St Mirren here, and that's their only domestic loss in 38 since the Scottish Cup semi against Rangers last season. Every single statistic you look at in terms of Celtic right now, Peter, is pretty astonishing.
Absolutely, but I think that's the biggest thing with their performances. They're relentless, as I said at the start of the programme. It's with the quality of the players they have, and as I say, the manager organises them and he's demanding that from them. But then when you're out on that pitch, you still have got to go and perform like that. And to be fair, the first half here wasn't that easy for them, but they kept digging in, and then all of a sudden their quality takes over. And I think when you're winning games of football, it obviously gives you that confidence, and when you've got that quality, determination. As you say, Joe Hart's not the touch of the ball apart from picking the ball out the net for the penalty kick. But how many games could we say that about? And it's not, I wouldn't be disrespectful to the opposition. Just Celtic are so far in front of everyone else. That's the problem. It's not that other opposition are easy to play against or whatever. But just Celtic are so much better.
Haksabanovic, left-hand side, plays Greg Taylor down the flank, comes off Fraser Taylor behind for a corner. Yeah, I was thinking that, given that they are so far ahead of everyone else in Scottish football right now, the next step for them really next season has to be to really make a mark on Europe, as O'Reilly flicks it into the penalty area. Starfelt can't get to it. It's headed away by Watt, picked up by Iwata out to the right hand side for Abada. Abada up to the edge of the penalty area, tries the shot, but it's blocked by a combination there of O'Hara and Richard Taylor. Back with Callum McGregor. We've got 2 minutes left of the 90 plus any stoppage time. Celtic running out comfortable winners in the end. They were made to work for it until they got the leveller. Here they come looking for a 6th goal, having trailed at half time. St Mirren managed to get that away over to the far side. The Celtic left. It'll be a throw-in to the visitors. You would certainly, Peter, just going back to that point, you would back them to go and really. I mean, they did well in periods of Champions League games.
I thought they did very well, Alistair. And the thing that impressed me most about them, they tried to win every game. Every single game they had opportunities. Real Madrid at home, Maeda's chance right after half-time at 0-0. Then, obviously, they showed their class, Real Madrid have. But in every other game as well, they had opportunities to win the games. And I think that's the thing the manager will be looking at. How can we improve on that? How can we win games in the Champions League? There's absolutely no doubt of that. And people keep talking about Rangers going out and getting new players in the summer to strengthen. I think Celtic will go and do the same again. I think Celtic will refresh and maybe get rid of some of the boys that's here, and then bring it, refresh it all, because you've got to do that when you're, like, say, champions and winning consistently. You have to freshen the training ground.
Here comes Tony Watt looking to chase down the channel, but Starfelt's there ahead of him. And here's Greg Taylor into the final minute of the 90. St Mirren 1, Celtic 5. It hasn't been as easy as it sounds, though. As O'Reilly finds Abada. Abada up towards the edge of the penalty area, slips it back out to the right to O'Reilly. Johnston now for Starfelt. Starfelt just outside the centre circle, inside the St Mirren half, out to the left for Haksabanovic. And back with Iwata. He'll play it square to Cameron Carter-Vickers, out to the right hand side for O'Reilly. Closed down well by Richard Taylor, who wins it off him, then tries to take him on, and he's fouled, and it will be a St Mirren free kick inside their own period. 4 minutes to be added on. We've just passed into that right now, and over the piece, Stephen, it'd be difficult to argue that Celtic don't deserve the 3 points.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think the game changed when Charles Dunn was sent off. It'd been interesting to see with 11 men on the pitch if Celtic had managed to break down St Mirren. They were making it very, very difficult, and their tactics were working very, very well. But going down to 10 men made it ever so difficult. The second half was always going to be a big ask for St Mirren with just the 10 men on the pitch. And when the first goal went in, you did feel as though Celtic got a lift from that. The substitutions have all worked well. Abada making a huge difference down this right-hand side in the second half. And you know, Stephen Robinson, he rolled the dice when they went 2-1 down, and he's probably paid the price for that a wee bit.
O'Reilly gives chase to Johnson's forward ball, but Gogic just gets himself between ball and man and sees it out for a goal kick to St Mirren. So for the second game in a row, it looks as though Celtic are going to beat St Mirren 5-1. For the third game in a row, they'll beat them by 4 goals. Doesn't tell the full story as Stephen has just outlined, but ultimately Celtic good value for the emphatic victory.
Just shows you how important the discipline is of a player, you know, because you can work hard in tactics all week and people talk how's the game going to go, and these are the moments you never know what the game's going to be like. You know Celtic are going to have predominantly most of the ball in any of the game they play, so you've got to keep everyone on the pitch and make as little error as you possibly can. Unfortunately, they make an error and it costs them a player, and then the game really just faded away completely from them. But I feel for Stevie, because as you say, his tactics, you could see the players had worked really, really hard, obviously, in the preparation for this match.
Yeah, and it shouldn't really impact their quest for a top 6 place at minimum. You would certainly not back against them achieving that, given their performances over the course of the season, particularly here. For Celtic, it's a couple of games against Hearts to come up, one in midweek at Celtic Park in the league. On Wednesday we'll have live coverage of that here on Sports Sound for you, on BBC Sounds, Radio Scotland Extra, on digital, on 810 Media Wave, and online live commentary of Celtic Hearts, plus online commentary of Rangers Hibs and updates of the other action. And then of course it's Scottish Cup quarter-final time at Tynecastle next Saturday. That'll be a huge game, a really interesting one. I fancy there. That last game between Hearts and Celtic at Tynecastle was a fabulous watch. Hearts, like St Mirren did for parts of today, making it really awkward for Celtic, but Celtic coming out on top, as they tend to do these days. We're into the final minute of stoppage time as Celtic come forward down the left-hand side. It's O'Reilly into the box. It goes, takes a deflection on its way through off a Celtic player. It was in the end, and it is another St Mirren.
I think that was an opportunity, Alistair. I think it was actually. He tried to flick his head and he's headed it over the bar. It's an opportunity, but fair play to him. He get in the middle of the goal again, and as you know, all good strikers get in between the sticks, wanting opportunities. But I thought he should have done better there.
Trevor Carson to take the goal kick, which will pretty much be the final act of this Sunday afternoon Premiership tie, as the Celtic fans throw on another ball to the park just as Trevor Carson takes the goal kick. And there's a final whistle, and ultimately it is another big win for Celtic. It didn't always look like that would be the case. St Mirren with a fabulous start to the game, going in front after 6 minutes with Mark O'Hara's penalty, after VAR indicated that there was a handball, corroborated by the referee. Greg Taylor, the man penalised. Mark O'Hara dispatching that beyond Joe Hart. Celtic huffed and puffed in the first half, but could not find an equaliser. Hatate and Jota both going close, but a real pivotal point, you have to say, towards the end of the first half, when Charles Dunn was shot with a back pass. He dragged back Kyogo to prevent him latching on to. He was shown the red card. Initially that was given as a penalty. It was downgraded to a free kick, but in the second half was when that extra man really told, as did the changes from Ange Postecoglou, particularly that of the introduction of Lee Labada, who came on at half-time, and it was he who provided the assist for Jota to slide in the equaliser. Aaron Moy sent in a free kick to the back post just after the hour mark for Alistair Johnston to head in his first Celtic goal and put the champions in front. And from there on in, Celtic really showed their class as Abada himself scored, burrowing into the penalty area before firing right-footed, low pass Carson. He then set up O'Reilly for his second goal of the season just a couple of minutes later, before O was dragged back in the box on as a substitute, and he picked himself up, and after a VAR check, the penalty was awarded, and he dispatched that underneath the body of Trevor Carson. You could argue it's harsh on St Mirren, the 5-1 ultimate scoreline, but such was the dominance of Celtic, it could actually have been more in the end. It finishes in Paisley. St Mirren 1, Celtic 5.
On